The room is relationships. The room is you and me and everyone in America.
What are you talking about?
The room is different cookie cutter from Hollywood.
Yeah, man, you never know. People are very strange these days.
What's going on?
Welcome to The Room Minute,
The podcast where we get obsessed with the cinematic classic The Room.
1 minute at a time.
You have no idea what kind of trouble you're in here, do you?
Why are you so hysterical?
We always wanted people actually talk about it.
I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
Oh, hi, listeners. For the last time. We're here to talk about minute 99 and I think it's 30 seconds beyond that of The Room, in which really we need a bigger, badder, more tragic song over these credits. I don't think You're My Rose works.
What are we thinking? I'm trying to think of big dramatic songs and I've got...
I don't know, like Titanic, you know?
This heart doesn't go on. Because
well, Lisa's will.
But the movie's centered around Tommy.
True, it's Tommy's story.
The Titanic made sense because it's the old lady's heart that continues to go on.
It should be a country song.
A country song, okay.
Yeah. It's like it was,
so over the credits we get, if it hadn't been for Cotton Eye Joe, I'd have been married a long time ago.
A tragic one, not Cotton Eye Joe.
I love Cotton Eye Joe way more than I should.
By the way, oh hi Johann, oh hi Luke, oh hi Elin.
Hello.
Oh hi Robin.
Invited all my friends.
But, great thinking.
Good thinking.
They didn't come.
Everybody betrayed me. I don't have a friend in the world.
Some of them
So you're stuck with us.
Yeah. According to Ross Morin, The Room is undeniably one of the most important films of all time. Like Citizen Kane, The Room will be taught, studied, written about, enjoyed, obsessed over, and fetishized for years to come. Just not by us. I added that line. It fails everywhere that good cinema succeeds, and in astonishing ways. Even my students, when challenged to try to write a bad screenplay, are unable to come anywhere close to the level of failure achieved by The Room. The Room is masterfully wrong.
Yeah, no one could ever make a movie like The Room, and that is what's so incredible.
No, what is wonderful is that so many people can make movies like The Room, and I watch them all the time.
Okay, all right. End of my thought. I'm done now. I'm leaving. I thought this was special.
It's no, it's not special. I think there is. We've talked about this many times in the show, but there's something normal about this movie. Like the plot is really basic,
yes.
And so for a low budget bad movie,
that's
it
surprising.
Is more watchable than a lot of them. And then it got fame.
Yeah, I think what angers this is what angers me about most movies that I find bad, which is when they show that they genuinely have good potential to go somewhere and then avoid it. It's so much worse than a movie that never had any potential.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Like there are elements of some of the shots in this where I'm not sure whether it's the film shots or the digital shots, but they keep obviously cutting between the two. Some of the shots in this, I think sometimes, wow, that's a really good shot. Or some of the storylines, I think, oh, that's great. And it has such a great premise and such potential that when you see that being wasted, you realize that, especially if the film becomes successful, no one can do that again without being called a ripoff of the original worst version.
Yeah.
Like if someone tried to tell the same story as The Room but make it good, it would always be compared to The Room. Mm-hmm. And so the idea that they've wasted that potential is really annoying in a way.
I get that.
Now, does anyone have any more notes on the credits? Because I have one last one.
I have 3.
Okay.
I'll go through them in chronological order, if you like.
Yeah. Mine's at the end, so.
So first of all, I've got the craft service.
Yeah. Which
I just love the fact that it's just LA and San Francisco fast food.
Yes.
And I enjoyed that. I thought
that's what they ate on set.
Yeah. And the fact that that's when you can tell that he was just trying to fill the credits.
Right. I'm imagining someone's typing this in, says to Tommy, craft service. He's like, what's that? It's what you ate on set. Oh, that was fast food. So they put it in there.
And I think the way in which putting it as LA and SF fast food is when it kind of skims past, it feels almost like a company name, like in a weird way.
Yep.
My next 2 notes are very similar. Light post-productions could definitely have done a better job at ADR is one of my notes. And then that's followed with dialogue editor. They had one of those. Richard Zimmerman.
Yes.
And that's the extent of my notes.
Yeah, someone actually recorded the sound and someone put it in there.
Thought it was good enough to use.
Yes. Or Tommy thought it was good enough to use and told them don't change it.
Yeah, and they did the best they could with what they had.
Well, I love the fact that because of how much was ADR'd, Tommy heard the audio that was on set, thought, I didn't deliver that line good enough. I'm going to go and deliver it again. So he acknowledged that he needed to make this as good as he can and still came out with the worst deliveries you ever heard.
Yes.
That takes skill.
Yep.
It was a bit awful, to be fair.
Not skill that you need at any point in life, but that does take skill.
Right.
But I guess it's quite difficult to match it up.
Yeah,
so
probably. I match up audio on podcast things, and that takes a little bit of effort when you have a lot of it. So videos can be even harder.
Yeah. I remember taking ages in a shot in Unstable. In one of the shots, I had to cut to the long shot whilst one of the lines being delivered using the audio of the master shot, and that took forever to make it match up to look vaguely like they were saying the right thing. So I understand how painful ADR would be, but I still think they could have done a better job.
Yeah. My new favorite credit is, I think, right near the end. The producers and director of The Room thank all residents of San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Hollywood areas for directly or indirectly supporting this project. So, as someone who lived in LA, I was just thanked.
That's right.
Oh, hey, you got a movie cred. You might as well put that on IMDb.
I'm putting it in
Listed
there.
as thanked by Tommy Wiseau.
Uncredited thanks.
Yeah, list it. Thanks uncredited. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That you definitely should do that. But I acknowledge that, but I realized that I never was sure as to whether willingly or unwillingly is a thing that they normally put. But I thought it was weird.
Well, not willingly or unwillingly, directly or indirectly.
Directly or indirectly. Well, that too, but willingly or unwillingly feels.
You existed, so this city was here.
Yeah.
I wonder if people took it as a threat that they were credited for this film.
Any other notes on the minute or the movie?
Not really, but I will say every time that I've kind of crapped on this movie, I really do still like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just very hard to introduce this film to anybody.
Yeah.
I'd agree. Yeah.
I think experience from last night proved that definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It is Friday.
It's Friday.
I know it. It all sounds like some bad movie.
So we talk about bad movies of the week. I will post a list online of all the bad movies of the week we've had up till now. It's been quite a few of them.
Yeah.
And now we have new ones to add. Luke, I know you have one.
Yeah. Do you want me to go first, or
yes?
Who else has brought one?
I brought one.
I got one.
I got one.
Oh, good.
So mine is bad in a way. None of the films I've discussed have ever been bad. So my movie is the Pure Flix movie, God's Not Dead. My faith's come up on the show before, but I have an issue with a lot of Christian media in the ways in which it represents Christianity. Some of it gets it right, but most Christian movies are cheesy and failed attempts at evangelism. That it angers me, as I said, most bad movies do, when they show potential to do something and then miss it. And God's Not Dead is very much one of those. No disrespect against the filmmakers, obviously. They had an aim, and I hope it succeeded in that aim among some people. But what is basically the film equivalent of a playground debate between an atheist and a Christian, where they go, God's real. Oh, if God's real, who made God? And then it's those questions, and that's the movie. It's the rough premise of a guy who is a philosophy teacher who makes all of his students agree that God does not exist and that God is dead, except one student who says, no, I'm not going to write that. And so he says, right, you have to persuade the class that God's not dead. And as a premise for a film, I'm like, okay, I'm in, I'm invested. What follows is all the Christian characters in the movie having no character flaws whatsoever, and all the atheist characters in the movie being the worst people you've ever seen in anything ever. Which is, as an evangelism technique, awful, because the issue with Christian movies is something that I've been very, very passionate about for a long time. I did a lot of research this week around why it doesn't work, and what I found is, I don't know whether in America you're probably more. Are you familiar with Newsboys, the band?
Mm-hmm.
Heard of Christian pop band. Yeah, I heard of them, and that was it. But they did a song apparently that was in God's Not Dead, and they, as a band, as far as I'm aware, are both secular music and religious music together. So take this from the Christian perspective of you've got a Christian coming along and bringing their agnostic or atheist friend along to this concert with the hope of maybe introducing them to the faith. And they go and play the song from God's Not Dead. But before they do that, they say, let's show a couple of clips from the film. And as they show the clips from the film, whenever the Christian's on screen, the audience cheer. Whenever the atheist is on screen, the audience boo so much that the atheist friend that this this hypothetical atheist friend that's been brought along, who suddenly thinks maybe there's something in this, is in a group full of people who are supposed to not be judgmental, being told that everything that they've been brought up with believing is wrong and all that's evil in the world. And that, I think, the damage that could do to people's faith is so much worse than the help it could do to others. And that's what angers me. So it's a bad movie for a very different reason, but I think the main reason in which the Christian movies I like work are because the people of faith and the people not of faith are both characters with flaws and good sides. So to see good Christian movies, I recommend Heaven is for Real, Miracles from Heaven, and the Gerard Butler movie Machine Gun Preacher. That's my very serious bad movie of the week. I hope that's okay.
I'm kind of interested in Machine Gun Preacher all of a sudden, though.
Yeah, I've only seen that the once, so I may be completely wrong. But I remember really enjoying it because Christian movies also have a tendency, I understand why, to hide away from acknowledging that violence, drug use, and bad language are parts of the real world. But what you end up with is not being able to take the film seriously because it's in this kind of ideological world of Hallmark movies and kids films that you can't take it seriously and take the message out of it. Machine Gun Preacher is, in the UK, rated 15 for strong language, violence, threat, and gory injury detail, which to me, even just going into it, went, this feels like the real world, because the real world does have those things.
Yeah.
And I think all of those good ones I mentioned are based on true stories, whereas God's Not Dead is not. But yeah, that's my very serious bad movie of the week, and I hope that came across okay.
Yeah.
My film isn't exactly awful. Well, okay, it's pretty bad, but I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
So does this count?
Well, yeah. We've had movies that I insisted were good movies that people brought up, so it's fine.
Yeah. Okay. It's a bit of a strange film, but it's called The To-Do List, if you've heard of it.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah.
But basically, it's about this girl who is actually at Aubrey Plaza, and she goes on this journey of kind of growing up, I guess. Sexually.
Yeah, I remember
And it's just
hearing
funny.
about that movie.
It's a strange concept, but it's so funny and so awkward to watch, which is why it's so funny to me. And I love watching it. It's also got Andy Samberg in a bit. He's a bit of a feature.
I'm just looking through the
which is
cast
quite
and
cool,
thinking.
and I really like his
Yeah, I'm
films.
looking through the cast.
Yeah, Bill Hader's in there.
Ronald Glover, Christopher Mintz-Plasse. Yeah,
It's a really good cast. Yeah, as Willie, it's interesting. It's an interesting watch, and I think that's something I'd...
Apparently it was on my watch list on IMDb, but I've never watched it.
Is it on your watch list because of Aubrey Plaza?
Maybe. Or maybe I saw a trailer for it, I don't remember.
It's a pretty entertaining film, and if you've got like the time to spare, 100% go and watch that film.
I'm assuming it's kind of the same sort of shut your brain off, kind of enjoy it, acknowledge it's bad, but have fun.
It's just a film that you sit down late at night and just enjoy. Like just switch off and just kind of just laugh at the stupid comments and laugh at how stupid it is.
No, you leave stupid comments in your pocket.
I was waiting for that.
Leave your stupid comments in your pocket.
Then that's pretty much it. That's all I have to say about it, really. Just go and watch it if you haven't already seen it.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So normally I try and have a theme of what I'm like a bad movie because I've been here too many times already. The theme for this one is a bad movie that couldn't be saved by reboots, remakes, or a good budget. Because that's something that we brought up last time. Had an opportunity for a rewrite, would it be better? And it's Fantastic Four.
Which one?
All of them. Because there's the original one that came out in the 90s where it's literally the guy made this movie so that he could have the copyright to the movies. So he got paid handsomely to make the ones that came out with Jessica Alba.
Yeah.
Then there's the recent reboot.
Although that one they made not to be released is maybe the better of the Fantastic Four movies.
Which is saying something.
Yeah.
But that's why like none of them have ever been uniquely good. Even though like they had Silver Surfer to try and make it good. They had Doug Jones to be Silver Surfer, who's a fantastic actor.
Yeah.
But then it all came crashing down with the Galactus.
Yep.
So that's why I think like this one's just my bad movie because it could not be redeemed with a better budget, the first one, a sequel to try and make a correction of mistakes in the first one, or a reboot.
Which they've already done, and
yes.
are going to do again.
Yep. So that's why this one's my bad movie. Just Fantastic Four, because it doesn't seem like they can ever make it good.
I agree.
Do you think there's a unique reason? Because they've made superhero movies.
I think a lot of it had to do with the production company because of that one guy that owned the rights. Because since it wasn't able to be sold by Marvel, it just got sold to the highest bidder who wanted to make a comic book movie. I think that's part of the problem.
Because then the second one was Sony, right?
So there is actually theories that perhaps X-Men probably will come into Marvel because of WandaVision, if you haven't seen that.
Yes, there is. But that was already in talks before.
Oh, yeah, I know. Aren't they trying... Well, do you reckon they'll introduce Fantastic Four? I mean, hopefully not.
They've already sort of cast part of it, I believe.
Yeah. For the recent reboot, because it took so long and they're under a deadline with Marvel Studios where they have to make a movie of it to keep the license current. Like, you can't just let it sit in the back burner.
Yeah.
Because it got delayed with production hell and all that, they gave up Ghost Rider, which is why he showed up in the S.H.I.E.L.D. TV series.
Okay. Interesting.
So there's always problems with it. It's in production hell.
I kind of hope they don't, though. I kind of hope they leave it out.
Yeah, they don't know what to do with the Fantastic Four, like, when it comes down to it. It should be, like, simple in a way, because there's the four of them, and you don't have to rewrite how the four of them got together. So you have the origin down.
Yeah. I think the problem is they want superhero movies to be more exciting. Fantastic Four, I think a good movie of them would not be action-oriented, because it should involve more of the science side for Mr. Fantastic, and it's a family drama, which the most recent one, I think, kind of tried to do that, but didn't do it very well.
I think, like you said, they've remade them so many times. You know the plots, you know what's going to happen, so they can't recast it again as a different storyline, as like a second film.
Yeah.
That's just not how, I don't think they're not going to be able to do that.
Yeah, I also don't know why they don't just introduce, like, Ben Grimm is Jewish, and he was part of that Yancey Street group and all that, and why they don't talk about that at all, because he's basically the golem, like the Jewish golem, where you put, like, the prayer in the mouth. Yeah, like, they don't introduce anything like that to give him some depth.
Oh, okay. That'd be interesting.
So the fact that Reed Richards is not the best husband, the only one that's actually had depth was Johnny Storm, but he's just very shallow, and that's as deep as he goes, which is an oxymoron. As far as a villain goes, like Doctor Doom, they really could have explored the fact that he believes that he can fix the world, and he starts with his own little country.
Yeah. Which they might be able to manage now. They sort of did with Killmonger in Black Panther.
Yeah.
My bad movie for this week is Neil Breen for the third time. This time, I actually should have gone with his earlier one because I forgot how boring Twisted Pair is. And it's Neil Breen starring as identical twins who had a dog when they were kids because the stock footage he bought had a dog in it, I'm pretty sure. But they get somehow abducted by someone, like aliens, it's implied, and turned into AI humanoids. And I saw a theory online that Neil Breen doesn't know what the word humanoid means. He thinks it's android.
By this point, Neil Breen knew he's bad, right?
No. Not only is this his fifth film, he has a documentary out where he has behind the scenes footage and like interview things where he's talking about his filmmaking and choices he made and all this other stuff. He thinks he's
What's
good.
a good starting point for Neil Breen? Because I've been meaning to watch it.
Double Down is probably the most watchable. Twisted Pair is boring. It repeats shots. It is mostly told through voiceover because they didn't record a lot of dialogue. And I realized as I'm watching it, one of the best things is if I had the time, I could make whatever movie I wanted to out of it because I just got to change all the voiceover. Give it a plot or something.
Brilliant. And so you mentioned before about it kind of being, or at least with, I assume his other stuff being kind of archive footage stuff. Is that his filmmaking? Stock footage and archive?
He uses a lot of stock footage, yeah. And except for Pass Through, he also apparently bought a drone recently, so there's a lot of aerial footage as well. He also uses stock photos as backdrops, which is not a good one, because he walks into a plane and he's smaller than all the chairs before he sits down in one. And he talks. I watched an introduction he did for the video, the DVD, I think, of this, where he's talking really like his real self, not acting. And he talks like someone who doesn't know sentences they're supposed to flow together. He pauses between words and pauses in weird places. And before I even watched him talking, there's a scene in Twisted Pair where he is talking to himself. It's two different pieces of footage of him as Cade, him as Kale, So one of them has a really bad fake mustache and beard, talking to each other, and it's still edited so that there's awkward pauses between their lines. It's 2 different pieces of footage. He could have edited it as smoothly as he wanted and made it into something more normal, but I think he thinks that's normal.
I knew it was you. Kale. Why haven't you contacted me? We're different. No, I'm different. I don't have what you have. But you could have. At one time. But you threw it away. You let it go. Or it was taken from me.
My description for Neil Breen is essentially Tommy Wiseau if no one ever laughed at a screening, and he was really into weird politics and science that is outdated and afraid of everything technological. Because his movies are like him having a messiah complex in different ways where he's going to save the world from, in this case, AI taking over. It's ridiculous. Anything else to say about bad movies or The Room specifically?
It does take a lot to have the realization that something you've made is bad, I think. When you've invested so much love and time into it. I've had that with a couple of my previous projects where in hindsight I've gone, that was awful. And it took a lot to get to that stage. And it's quite upsetting when you think of how much time, and when you go back, especially say through like social media posts that you had a couple of years ago or however long ago when you're doing stuff, and you realize how much love and passion went into something, to then just have it as the butt of a joke is a lot to go through. So outside of everything we've said about Tommy Wiseau, I have a lot of respect for the fact that he's had to live with that and he's allowed that to happen.
But I think also you've got to make a bad film to get a good film afterwards.
We're just waiting for the good film.
Yeah, we're just still waiting. Yeah.
I think bad movies is kind of like having a favorite, like non-popular potato chip. Like, like the dill pickle one. You don't expect it to be actually good, but you like it. But then it's not going to be the same for everybody else. And that's kind of like the aspect of it, is when you watch a good movie that's kind of like your barbecue flavored or whatnot and ranch. But then sometimes you have this one weird flavored chip that you particularly enjoy, and it turns out other people like it. It just seems a little bit more special when a bad movie is liked for that specific reason.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be good. It doesn't sound good. But for some reason, you and a lot of people enjoy it. So there's obviously a place for it.
And you shouldn't go the way I do, is seek all of them out. Seek out the ones that other people like.
Yeah, you shouldn't eat all the bad or like all the weird sounding chips.
Yeah.
I think to have a love of watching bad movies, which is a great thing, I think you still need to balance it out with a love for cinema in itself before you just become a very cynical person.
Yeah.
Hence, I know, Robert, that you talk so much about movies that you love, which is why doing the Room Minute and Mandy Sucks Minute doesn't make you a kind of horrible, cynical person.
Yeah.
Because you've expressed what you love. I think if your first MXM show was Mandy Sucks, and you dedicated so much time to talking about how much you hate Mandy, and that was all anyone ever knew of you, then I would imagine that it would be quite tough to have kind of a positive outlook on everything.
Yeah. So, I guess plugs, Elin?
You can go and follow the @LoveRosiePod, and my username is actually tagged in the bio of that, so you can check that out if you want. And that's about it.
Luke?
Maybe we'll be started by now.
Yeah, I think we would have started. We haven't started just yet, but when this comes out, yeah, it probably would have started.
But yeah, Love Rosie, great movie, which not many people have seen. So there we go. Sorry, I just dragged myself into your plugs then. I'll shut up.
No, just add lukeallen.co.uk and you're done.
Yeah, that's true. I don't need to do all of my plugs. They're all on lukeallen.co.uk.
Yeah.
Except Podchaser. Add me on Podchaser.
Yeah, there you go. And Johann?
You guys can find me on past projects like ID 4 Minute, which is about Independence Day, and Roughneck Minute, which was about Starship Troopers.
Now, I would like to end this show. I'd say it's had ups and downs from the cursed first week of episodes, which took us 2 months to record because we had so many technical problems and scheduling issues, to what was supposed to be a brief hiatus for me last year, but ended up being we only put 3 episodes out all year. It's been hilarious. It has been painful. On behalf of Allison, who also couldn't make it today because of a last-minute emergency, I hope it has been the same for everyone listening now or sometime in the future, just like The Room. Hilarious and painful.
So there's nothing wrong when people make fun of the project, in this case, The Room.
The Room Minute is a production of Lemming Drops Studio. You can find more content at lemmingdrops.com.
Follow The Room Minute on all the obvious social media. If you've got any stupid comments after the show,
You can leave them in your pocket on Facebook. If you like what you hear, throw us a rating and a review on your podcatcher of choice. Thank you for listening, and remember, if a lot of people loved each other, the world would be a better place to live.
Leave us!